long-term may not work out.
I mean, you got to think, though. I mean, Rodgers sat, Garoppolo sat, and look where they are.
Right.
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Oh, no, it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I think that the situation with Rodgers, you're sitting behind Brett Favre, and with Alex Smith starting over Pat Mahomes was, a marvel. I mean, nobody really knew about him in college until he hit the scene in the NFL, and you saw this ridiculous arm strength and this ridiculous uncanny ability to actually make plays, down the field with your arm and stuff like that. But, if he came in next year and you were able to sit Dwayne Haskins and be like, okay, we're going to sit you for a year and you're going to learn from a guy who has done it before, a guy who is taught from the field and able to pass down tips. And, that's something that might work out. And honestly, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially if you have a team that's actually winning games, which the Redskins aren't really doing right now. But, it would cause me to actually question some things with Dwayne Haskins if you can't actually win that job next year, because they probably want him to win the job.
I see both sides of it. I do. I mean, I agree with both sides. But with that being in question, we've seen Washington have a little bit of rare success through the past couple decades, and there's been a catalyst up at the top that I am not a big fan of. Is Dan Snyder part of the problem, or is he the problem?
Okay. Yes, he is part of the problem, and he is the problem. And I'll go into that.
Jerry Jones type problem?
Right. Well,
okay.
Well, see, Jerry actually learned from his mistakes because he passed down control of the draft room to his son, and
which is smart because Steve.
Yes, he is. They've had great drafts these past couple of years. I mean, this year Dallas has been a little bit disappointing, but as far as like talent-wise, they are one of the more talented teams in the NFL. And even as a Cowboy hater, at least I can admit that they actually have some
much respect to that, man. To recognize your rival is at least have some positives there, because we have a bunch of people that come on and they do the whole like tunnel vision and like, oh no, Cowboys suck if you're an Eagles fan and all that. So it's just I respect that a lot, and I do that. I respect the Bears franchise, the Vikings, the Lions, and the rivals. But the thing is, I will respect them as a team. I may not respect certain players on their team, but I respect them as a team.
Right, exactly. No, I definitely hear you on that. I mean, from Dak to Jalen Smith to Leighton Vander Esch to Zeke Elliott. I mean, acquiring Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. I mean, they have, and that offensive line. I mean, they're just one of the best offensive lines of the past, the past 5 years or so, and they continue to be great. But that's the thing with Jerry Jones. I mean, he was wise enough to just like, okay, I want to be the face of the franchise, but I'll let my son and his guys handle football operations. And to his credit, I do think that Daniel Snyder wants to win. I think he wants to be. I don't think he's just purposely messing up, but he is the problem because no matter what Daniel Snyder does, it always backfires. If you go back from when they tried to buy a championship with Deion Sanders and Bruce Smith and Albert Haynesworth to bad coaching hires with Steve Spurrier or Jim Zorn and bringing back Joe Gibbs, which I mean was a great story for the fans and for the team, but he had 2 losing seasons and he was a disaster as a GM when he was a GM, and bringing back Mike Shanahan and now Jay Gruden and just the GMs and Bruce Allen and Vinny Serrato and just alienating the fan base and just general bad PR and bad embarrassing moments for the team. So is he the only problem? No, he's not the only problem, but he is the common denominator in most of the problems. So while I do think he wants to win, I think he desperately wants to win, but I just don't think he knows how to win, how to do it. I don't think he knows how to lead.
Do you think he has trouble letting go of the reins when he wants something that bad? Because I feel like some of his decisions, he wants to put want over need, in my opinion.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, if you heard the rumors from DC this past summer, you quickly found out that the Redskins football guys didn't want Dwayne Haskins, at least not in the first round.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the guys had a second round grade on him, and that Daniel Snyder took over the draft room and said, we're drafting Dwayne Haskins. I mean, I need to reinvigorate the fan base. I think he's the right guy. And I don't know. I mean, if you would have taken him in the second round, would he have this heat on him right now as far as, what are you doing right now? But Daniel Snyder did a Daniel Snyder. He went in the draft room and made a business decision, and now it's looking like 50-50 on whether it's going to backfire him or not. You know, I think that Daniel Snyder's the type of guy that always gets what he wants as far as his team goes, and sometimes he has problems letting go of that and letting the football guys actually do football guy stuff.
Okay, this happens to me once in a while when you guys are talking football. These little football, like, golden nuggets pop in. If you're Daniel Snyder and you're sitting around and you're just watching football in general and looking for your next head coach, because that's what he's doing, right?
Right.
What's the one head coach that's out there that you know has proven absolutely unequivocally in all of football, college, and pros to just take quarterbacks and just make them into just fire?
Oh man, a quarterback guru, a guy.
There's one out there. Nope.
There's
one out there that's absolutely proven it over the last 4 or 5 years, absolutely unequivocally in college, and there's one guy that pops in my head. Just one.
A quarterback maker in college. I don't know. Give it to me. Who are you talking about?
Lincoln Riley.
Oh, Lincoln Riley. No.
If you're Daniel Snyder, you're calling, and Daniel Snyder, see, now there's no salary cap on coaches.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely not. But, you know, if I were Daniel Snyder, I would take Redskins one jumbo jet to Norman, Oklahoma tomorrow and say, here's a blank check. I don't care what the number is. Just sign it, and I'll see you in Ashburn, Virginia tomorrow or whenever your season's over. Just come and fix my franchise. But, you know, at the same time, why would he leave one of the premier college coaching jobs to come to this, you know, dumpster fire of an organization? You know,
because it does have a winning history, and let's be real. At the end of the day, sometimes money does talk.
Oh no, absolutely.
And let's be real. Dwayne Haskins is one of the more talented quarterbacks he would be dealing with. He's more talented than Baker Mayfield. He's a bigger, stronger armed. Yeah, he is. He's more talented than Baker Mayfield. Yes, he is. Dude, I watched Baker Mayfield drunk get 4 steps on a cop and couldn't make it. So no, he's not an athlete, man. Sorry. Like,
all I'm going to say to that is, Paul, I agree with you on this. Lincoln Riley is now on the verge of making his 3rd college playoff appearance. He has, I believe now, 3 Big 12 championships to his name, and just had a quarterback that was known for running the past 3 years, and now was killing it with over, I believe today's game, 3,600 yards and about 36 TDs. And that's just passing. He was killing it this year. So Jalen Hurts was known for running in Alabama. He converted him to a passing QB this year, and he was able to get into another Big 12 championship. And since Utah lost and Georgia got smoked, I'm assuming Oklahoma's going to be the 4th team. That's his 3rd college playoff appearance.
Right, and a guy who had back-to-back Heisman quarterbacks.
Exactly.
You know, and he
have another.
But guys, these are big time coaches in big time programs, and just like big time quarterbacks with big time talent, they got big egos. And at some point, you become, okay, well, I've done it, I've proven it. What else do I have to prove? I mean, winning the national championship's nice. But there's no guarantee with the crap storm that they call this better system than the BCS, with a bunch of old bloviated dudes that have their old-ass ideas of what football is and can't get off their lawns deciding who the 4 is, and we can't have an actual national playoff and all this stuff. There's no guarantee you're going to win a national championship there. And after a couple of years, if you don't do it, these programs, that's what they want. So why and with this ego, there's one quarterback really out there that's in the pros, one franchise that needs to be fixed, because out of them all, they've got their quarterback and they need fixed. And that's the big step. That's the ego booster, the next thing. Like, if I really want to show how good of a coach I am, if I really want to show how great, you go to the next level, do it in the pros with a guy like Dwayne Haskins, and then you get to walk around really swinging your big stick around and throwing it on the table.
Right. No, absolutely. And I will say this, whoever comes to DC and fixes this franchise, he'll be a hero forever. He'll never buy another beer in the city. They'll build statues to this guy. I mean, the fan base in DC has been so beaten down and so dejected for the past 20 years. They're hungry for whoever's going to come in here and fix this mess. And if it is Lincoln Riley, if he decides to take on a new challenge and come here and fix this organization and he actually succeeds, he'll be the greatest hero of all time in DC sports history. So, yeah, you're right about that.
I got another one that might work, especially with you guys having Geis and maybe keeping Peterson another year. Stefanski from the Vikings, he's able to run a scheme that's able to use heavy running backs and get the quarterback to use as a secondary weapon. And he's done that with Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins. Wouldn't that be something to bring Kevin Stefanski in as a head coach and then say, here, have Cousins, we'll bring Kevin Stefanski in and help groom Dwayne Haskins?
No, absolutely. I think that's actually one of the guys that I have a close eye on for guys we're going to bring in for interviews this coming winter.
Roman's another one for Baltimore.
Greg Roman is another guy. Like another guy. Speaking of Big 12 guys, is I think Matt Rule is from Baylor.
Yes.
That's a guy that a lot of guys like as an NFL head coach. A pipe dream would be Urban Meyer. I mean, I wouldn't recommend somebody with a heart condition coming to this team.
To the NFL.
Right, and like I said, I don't think that he would want this job in the first place. But yeah, but go ahead.
Let's be real about Urban Meyer. He would be in DC with Dan Schneider for exactly 3 days, 4 hours, and 52 minutes before either he got his migraines back or he had a severe heart attack.
Oh, the first time Dwayne Haskins overthrows a receiver and hits that free safety in the chest, he's going to have a migraine again. I believe that for sure. But, yeah, I don't see that happening. I think that there's a lot of Ohio State ties to the Redskins now with Haskins and McLaurin. And I think that people are like, oh, let's go get Matt Day. I'm like, why would Matt Day leave Ohio State for this job? I mean, that makes no sense. But somebody in that pipeline, somebody in that Ohio State coaching tree might be interested because there's a lot of Ohio State guys here now these days. So it's possible.
Now, what about having a defensive-minded coach instead, like as the head coach, but then come in and bring in a offensive guy to just specifically build Haskins up as OC?
No, I think that's a good idea because the Redskins
y'all got talent on defense.
We have some talent on defense. I mean, I think that public enemy number one behind Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder is probably defensive coordinator Greg Minuski.
Yeah,
he runs just a bland defense, and for a defense that has guys like Landon Collins and Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and Matt Ioannidis and Kerrigan.
Jonathan
and
Allen and
Sweat.
Deron Payne are my two favorite interior defensive linemen.
And they're
love those two.
Absolute monsters. But the defense just isn't producing. I mean, at least most of the season, these past couple weeks have been better, but they haven't been producing. So a defensive head coach would be right up the alley. I think that a guy that's been mentioned a lot is Todd Bowles, former Redskin, a guy that is really tight with the ownership of the Redskins. Yeah. Somebody that might come in here and, make this a defensive first team, and then maybe having a guy like, I don't know, if you were able to pry like Eric Bieniemy away from the Chiefs or something like that to fix the offense.
He loves it there, man. I don't know if he would ever leave. He loves being under Andy Reid.
He does. I think he might leave to be a head coach, and I think I read something this week that said he might be a head coach, candidate. But there are some guys out there, like says Stefanski might be a guy that you might look to as a guy that might come in here and work with Haskins and see what he does best and try to mold his game a little bit and get him coached up a bit and get him ready to go in 2020.
Yeah, and you know what? Sorry about that getting sidetracked here. Just we rabbit holed the hell out of that, and
it's okay. I do it all the
time. Yeah, we always try to have like a rundown or a plan or prepared questions, like I sent you. But it's like, and then next thing you know, you start remembering stuff like, hey, why didn't I put that on there? Why didn't I put that on there?
It's okay, man. My podcast is nothing but tangents, so no problems, bro.
You know what? Going back to Schneider, I got one more thing. This is something that's bugged me for a while. How come Washington